I was raised to believe people should treat each other right, but a lot of times they don't. Why won't you take care of your customer?
What part of your job's done didn't you understand?
Well, see, because you don't tell me my job's done.
They'll lie, cheat, and steal from you.
You're legally responsible for this. You cash the check.
They think nobody cares.
Okay, turn the camera off right now.
I care, and that's why TrustDALE Investigates. As children, we're all taught the importance of putting pennies aside for a rainy day. But when that rainy day finally arrived for Virginia Pullen, she says her pennies filled the pockets of a person who just wanted more.
As the rain started coming down really heavy, and the power went out, and my basement flooded.
Flooded because Virginia Pullen's sump pump failed.
And then I said, oh my goodness. And the next day, early that morning, it just drained out back into the earth.
She hired a contractor to waterproof her basement before the next downpour, but
he said I would need someone to come in before they get here and remove my furniture in the basement away from the wall and have someone to come in here and cut out half of the wall so they can put the system in. And he asked me, did I have anyone to do that? And I said, no. He said, well, I have someone that can do it for you.
Feeling she could trust the recommendation, she hired that someone, sight unseen. And what started out as a demo job jumped into a full-blown tear-out, mold remediation, and remodel.
And he said, Miss Pullen, he said, you have some mold. He said, well, I'm gonna have to remove all this panel right here to see how far the mold is coming up.
So after Ms. Pullen wrote him a check for more than $10,000, he did remove the paneling and treat the mold in the area of the basement where the water was seeping in. But that was only the beginning.
The water was leaking here from the front porch. And he said, we got to tear all this out to see where it's coming from.
Ms. Pullen agreed to do that, too.
He said, I'll come back again, and I have my crew with me, and we're gonna finish everything up and be through with it within 3 days. But I'm gonna need the other half now.
That other half would bring her total to nearly $22,000, which she paid, expecting that in 72 hours, her basement would be back to normal. But instead, 9 months have passed, and Ms. Pullen's walls are still exposed.
When I called him, he tells me that he cannot do it because I don't have enough money to finish the basement.
How do you feel about how you've been dealt with?
I've been scammed, taken, because I'm a senior citizen, and he just probably just knew that I didn't know anything.
Coming up.
For both of those areas, probably $12,000.
And that price tag, that's $10,000 less than she paid. Hear what happens when we confront the contractor about the difference. But first,
we spent a lot of money, and it feels like I spent money to downgrade at this point.
when one woman's new windows are worse than the ones she replaced, a first-time homebuyer asks TrustDALE Investigates for help. And later,
I mean, to me, this is fraud. I paid for tires, I didn't get them, you kept the old ones on.
she bought new tires, but that's not what she got.
We spend a lot of time here at TrustDALE making it right, but now I'd like to spend a couple of minutes showing you a company that does it right. Richard Johnson of Air Allergen and Mold Testing is joining us. He's been a certified TrustDALE partner for 8 years. Rich, why are you so focused on indoor air quality?
Dale, there's been so much attention given into the outdoor air that we breathe since the 50s when they first passed the Clean Air Acts. But very little has been done about the indoor air, and yet studies show that we spend 90% of our time indoors, which means that's where 90% of the air that we breathe comes from. Air Allergen has analyzed samples from over 30,000 locations in the indoor environment. And what we found is that the particle counts indoors are often higher than the ambient air quality standard for the nation, and the spore counts are higher for allergy-related type spores. And the National Institute of Health did a study that shows that the gaseous chemicals indoors are often 2 to 5 times what they are in the outdoor air.
So, Rich, you're saying that the quality of the indoor air has health consequences?
Absolutely. We've done a lot of studies and reviewed peer-reviewed studies, and we found connections to virtually every chronic disease that we have to some of the things that we find in the indoor air quality. And that includes asthma, COPD, heart-related issues, diabetes, Alzheimer's, and many cancers.
So how can someone know if their indoor air quality is bad?
Well, we have spent a lot of time analyzing our food, and the Food and Drug Administration and the Department of Agriculture, and what they do is they test it. We wouldn't want them to say, gee, I can't see anything there that does whatever. And we can do the same thing with indoor air quality. It's not difficult to test for particulate, mold spores, and background particulate, and gaseous chemicals if necessary.
Rich, any final thoughts?
Yes, I think that we have given so much attention to other things. It's time that we give the indoor air quality the same kind of attention that we've given to the food that we ingest and the water that we drink.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. For more information about air allergen and mold testing, visit TrustDALE.com.
He did not replace anything in my basement. No windows, no wooden panels. He did put the sheetrocks in.
When this woman's oversold on a mold remediation job, find out how TrustDALE Investigates makes it right. But first, we all know that replacement windows can transform the look of our homes, as well as make them more energy efficient. When Karen Marshall upgraded her old wooden windows to vinyl, she expected it to do away with the drafts, but to her surprise, she says her new windows are even worse than the ones she had before.
This is our first house. We were super excited. We had all these plans. We wanted to redo our kitchen, redo the floors, paint, and then we found out we needed windows.
So Karen and her husband, Dale, diverted the money they'd reserved for want renovations and funneled $17,000 toward what they needed to get through the winter.
After the install, we noticed there were air leaks. I went to measure for blinds and I felt air. So I called the company.
The company came out not just once or twice, but 5 times, but chilly air kept seeping through.
They just keep trying to do little fixes. The last time they tried to reinstall weather stripping and that didn't work. We spent a lot of money, and it feels like I spent money to downgrade at this point. So it's pretty heartbreaking.
Come spring, frustrated and feeling she was getting the runaround, Karen reached out to TrustDALE Investigates.
See at the heading, or the head of all the windows, none of them have a Z flashing.
Our experts from Superior Pro Painting, Window and Siding evaluates and explains to Karen her problems.
As your windows condensate, they're getting trapped. The moisture's trapping, and it's just going to stay inside and stagnate, and then it becomes mold, mildew, and other issues.
Those other issues include rusting screws and sometimes no screws at all.
There's no screw at the top at all. So there is no support at the top of this window. These screws here in the center, this one's not even screwed in all the way. The entire installation needs to be redone, needs to be properly shimmed, needs to be flashed at the top. There is no flashing at the head of this window per code.
We shared our experts' findings with the window company, which prompted them to send out their own inspector. He too found issues with the installation, but was unable to complete a comprehensive review because as a home inspector, as compared to a window inspector, his evaluation only included a basic look at the windows.
So honestly, when I first walked up, I thought, you know, from the outside, hey, this doesn't look bad at all. It actually looks pretty good. And then as I started digging a little deeper, I started going, wow, there's a lot of serious corners that are cut here. And the installation, they just created another future problem for their customer.
I'm going to contact the company again. Enough is enough. I want to get my house put back together.
But the company continues to put Band-Aids on gaps in Karen's windows. So we decided to pay a visit to the local office of the window company. No surprise, no one appears to have been in this office for quite a while. But the leasing office did provide us with a phone number, which we called and got this response.
I'm the manager of the windows department, but unfortunately we're not able to speak to third parties, so we have been in contact with Ms. Marshall, but we're not able to speak to anybody else on her behalf.
Got it. Well, Ms. Marshall says that your communication has been unsatisfactory, that you're not willing to actually meet the standard of your obligation. You just want to spit and toilet paper the job. Is there anything that we can do on her behalf to get you to do the right thing?
We'll go ahead and reach out to her. We'll discuss it with her further.
I'd sure appreciate it.
The Marshalls also want to warn other homeowners who live in cities where capital remodeling operates as a cautionary tale when replacing your home's windows.
Karen says she never did receive that call from Capital Remodeling, but she did contact an attorney and plans to sue for breach of contract.
Just ahead,
You significantly overcharged Ms. Pullen for not only the mold remediation, but the estimates for replacing her sheetrock and finishing out her basement.
I put in a normal, charge.
when a contractor overcharges a senior citizen for services he didn't deliver, TrustDALE Investigates helps the homeowner deliver an ultimatum.
I'm consumer investigator Dale Cardwell, and this could happen to you.
Cliff Price wanted solar panels on his home as a way to save money on his utility bills.
According to the advert that I saw, I wouldn't have any Georgia power bill and I wouldn't be paying any charges at all.
He liked the idea, so he hired a third-party company to install his panels at a cost of more than $30,000.
Georgia Power came out, inspected everything. They said everything's fine, it's going to work, and they turned it on in October.
However, his solar panels aren't saving him any money. In fact, according to him, the panels don't work.
I got a Georgia Power bill and I got the finance bill. And that's what's happened every month, despite 6 visits, multiple attempts to get it to work, and it's not working as of yet.
Cliff now admits the company's salesman won him over with claims that turned out to be too good to be true.
He said that if we had bad weather in Georgia with clouds and everything, it would last up to 5 days without reverting to Georgia Power. That's not true without battery backup.
He charmed you.
He charmed me completely.
Cliff turned to TrustDALE for help. We showed up at his home one morning as a crew worked on his solar panels for the 7th time.
So guys, we're doing a story on Cliff's ordeal. I hope you can tell your managers that we're watching, and I hope that this time everything goes well, okay?
Oh, you guys are recording us right now?
Yeah, we're a television show.
Oh, that's fine.
Okay.
That got their attention. Cliff told us his solar panels now work, and the company agreed to refund a good bit of his money.
Lesson learned? Don't just rely on what an advertisement or salesperson tells you. Make sure you get every promise and guarantee in writing, especially in a contract. Otherwise, this could happen to you.
Don't let this happen to you. Find investigated and certified companies at TrustDALE.com, all backed by the $10,000 Make It Right guarantee.
After Virginia Pullum's basement flooded, she discovered water wasn't her only problem. Mold and mildew permeated her walls. But when she hired a contractor to restore her basement, she says instead of fixing her problem, he made it worse.
He did not replace anything in my basement. No windows, no wood panels. He did put the sheetrocks in. He didn't fix the ceiling.
And now, nearly $22,000 in, Virginia's basement is far from finished.
And he said, I just didn't have enough money.
After tearing out and remediating the mold, the company put a stop order on restoration, saying it would cost nearly $10,000 more to complete the job. TrustDALE Investigates experts say the project is overpriced.
I think it's outrageously high for the industry.
Joe Akararji, owner of Mold Stoppers, is a certified mold inspector.
Could you give us an estimate of how much Ms. Pullen might have overpaid for this job, for the mold remediation?
For the mold remediation part, 2 times, easily.
Paul L'Italian of Archer Restorations agrees.
What would your estimate have been for mold remediation?
I would say for both of those areas, probably $12,000.
And that price tag includes restoration, which is nearly $20,000 less than the price the contractor says he needs to finish the job. So we called the contractor to challenge the price he charged Ms. Pullen.
You significantly overcharged Ms. Pullen for not only the mold remediation, but the estimates for replacing her sheetrock and finishing out her basement.
I put in a normal, charge, but it's not outrageous. I'm simply stating the facts of what they are. Everything that I have written, everything that I have done is above board, and y'all are trying to make it seem like I have grossly overcharged Ms. Pullen, and I have not.
When you hear Joe at Mold Stoppers telling you how much he thinks you've overpaid, how does that make you feel?
I feel I've been taken advantage of.
So much so, Ms. Pullen asked us to help her pursue a warrant for the contractor's arrest, citing theft of services. And we just wanted to give you a heads up that this is in process. If you wanted to...
I would like to give her back her money. I was unaware that was one of the things that was requested. I have no problem giving her back her money.
Well, we sent you an email. We sent you an email last week asking you to do so, and you didn't respond to the email.
I am 100% willing to give her back her money for services that she paid for that have not been rendered.
With the money Ms. Pullen was paid back, she hired our partners to help make her basement livable again.
Arch Restoration, we want to be your hero. It's great to have the opportunity to come in and make things right again. That's what we're here for.
I appreciate everything, because if it wasn't for you all, the ball wouldn't got rolled, and I'd be still with a messed up basement.
While Ms. Pullen believes the contractor took advantage of her, what he did is not illegal. However, our experts say it was unprofessional and unethical. Ultimately, the responsibility is with you, the consumer, to get multiple estimates and to check references. It'll protect you from overpaying and help ensure you're hiring a true professional to do the job.
Still to come, don't let this happen to you.
I got a call from the leasing office, and they're like, okay, well, you were one of the people who had their money order stolen out of the Dropbox.
See how TrustDALE Investigates helps this man maintain his apartment and his garden.
We spend a lot of time here at TrustDALE making it right, but now I'd like to spend a couple of minutes introducing you to a company that does it right. Matt Singleton with America's Best Choice Home Improvement is with us, and he's a TrustDALE certified partner for more than a decade. Matt, welcome.
Thank you.
Whether it's decks, siding, windows, fencing, you guys always start with a free, transparent estimate. Why can't everybody do that?
I don't know. It seems so simple to just go out and find out what the customers actually want, give them a fair price on great products, and go on from there. We don't need to do pressure. We don't need to do phony pricing gimmicks. It's just a simple process, and it should be kept that way.
So a lot of your competitors come in really high, and then they say, before we leave, we're going to cut this in half. But you guys don't do it that way. You educate people as to what they need, not what you want to sell them.
Exactly. We try to understand what their needs are, what they want, how they want to enhance the look of their home, what the goals are with the project that we're accomplishing. So we just consult with them rather than try to sell them something.
Yeah. So we started more than 10 years ago with windows, but you guys have expanded so much. Why?
So as people were buying things from us, they would come to us for advice, like they do you, and where do I go? And we were turning a lot of people away that really wanted to get good products, good materials, and they knew our customer service was good, so they depended on us to tell them where they could go. And when they did that, we kept saying, wait a minute, we should maybe be looking at getting into these other things. It's turned from that to decks and siding and fences and all the things that we do now, just because out of almost necessity, and we didn't like saying no to people.
Why is it so important to choose a company with a proven track record?
When you have people that just are coming in and out of the market, the state of Georgia has very light requirements on what it takes to get into the business here. So it's important to really vet who you're going to have do the work on your home. If something goes wrong, we fix it. We give an additional warranty to the factory warranties of the materials that we use. So they can rely on us to lifetime service guarantees, things like that, that you don't get from somebody that's just going to come in and out and not back it up.
Thanks, Matt. For more information about America's Best Choice Home Improvement, visit TrustDALE.com. If somebody tells you the check's in the mail, you might have to receive it to believe it. But when tenants at an apartment complex drop their rent checks in the property's drop box, only for the checks to vanish, the landlord didn't know what to think. Watch, because this could happen to you. Michael Jenkins is discovering what it takes to have a green thumb.
Mint. Never knew that was mint growing up. Always smelled like it.
He decided to learn how to grow plants, and now his apartment patio is turning into a garden.
Would love to grow cucumber because it's so versatile. It could go into a smoothie, you know, salad. You can eat it by itself, so definitely want to try some cucumber. That'd be amazing. That would be great.
Michael almost lost his garden, though, and his apartment because someone stole his rent from the leasing office's designated drop box.
I got a call from the leasing office, and they're like, are you going to come in, Mr. Jenkins, and pay your rent? Like, you know, it's late, it's overdue. And I'm like, I already paid my rent. And they were like, you did? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, okay, well, you were one of the people who had their money order stolen out of the drop box. Right here.
According to Michael, leasing office employees promised he would be reimbursed so he could pay for the stolen rent. He says the property owners broke that promise. At one point, they even went to court to get him evicted.
I feel like it was a shady tactic being done, and I know TrustDALE likes to expose unfair tactics on regular people.
After we intervened on Michael's behalf, the property owner's attorney told us the issue is resolved. Tenants now pay their rent directly inside the leasing office. Michael no longer faces eviction either.
The mint is amazing. Put it in a tea, does great. You know, certain desserts.
But he's planning to find a new place to continue his gardening.
TrustDALE lit a flame under this corporation and expose them.
If you're paying your rent or any other bill, always get a receipt or written confirmation that you paid in full. Otherwise, this could happen to you. Here at TrustDALE Investigates, we receive hundreds of emails from consumers all over the country asking for advice. Joanne writes, a very nice gentleman came to my door selling magazine subscriptions that he said benefits local charities. After I Venmo'd him $100 for my subscription, I Googled the name of the business, Optimum Reading Services, and found out there are a lot of people who say it's a ripoff. What do you know, Dale, about this organization? Well, here's what I do know. Optimum Reading Services is not a charity, nor does it work on behalf of charities. But according to people like you, the pitch makes people believe otherwise. Many of the national door-to-door sales force are young adults who say if you sign up for a subscription, or better yet, make a donation, a portion of the proceeds will go to charity. And as if that's not enough to get you to open your wallet, many salespeople will tell you that this job is helping them jumpstart their career, or even steering them back on track after a hard knocks life. But several complaints to the Better Business Bureau by consumers say many buyers will never receive a magazine, and it appears none of the charities mentioned get any money. Beware, because this type of scheme goes under many names, but the tactic is always the same. If you really do want to help a charity, do some proactive research and give to the charity directly. Thank you so much for the question, Joanne.
Next.
I mean, to me, this is fraud. I paid for tires, I didn't get them, you kept the old ones on.
Was it an honest mistake or something else? Find out when TrustDALE Investigates returns.
What's under your furniture? You won't know unless somebody moves it. I'm consumer investigator Dale Cardwell. When Stanley Steamer cleans your floors, they always move your furniture so they can get at the dirty bits underneath. Other companies won't send the manpower to move your stuff, so you really never get a complete clean. Carpet, tile, wood, upholstery, and air ducts. Plus, their service is backed by my $10,000 Make It Right guarantee. It's simple. It's Stanley Steamer. Book online today. When Terry Potter went to replace her tires, she thought she'd get the new treads on her car and be on her way. But as you're about to see, that's not the way her tire purchase turned out.
Well, I took my car in just about a month ago, and I needed 4 new tires. And so, I had been there before for some work, so I trusted them.
Trusted them because she had been having her tires serviced by her neighborhood shop for years.
Then 2 weeks ago Friday, I was on the expressway and I had a flat tire.
No worries, because she had a warranty on the tires.
And so when I took the car in, the manager opened my trunk where the blew out tire was. And with that, he says, well, we don't even sell these tires.
So she pulled out her receipt to prove her purchase, $850 worth.
He goes, well, I don't know. And I said, well, it looks as if I didn't get my new tires. And he goes, well, it does appear that way.
But instead of offering a solution, Terry says he asked, what do you want me to do about it?
I said, well, you're the manager. What are you going to do about it? I said, to me, this is fraud. I paid for tires. I didn't get them. You kept the old ones on.
She even checked the tires' serial numbers to paperwork she saved when she bought her old tires years ago. And sure enough, they matched.
It wasn't even like they put old tires on there. That's kind of what I thought at first. It was they never took them off.
They did refund her money, but didn't offer much else.
It had no explanation, no apology, no nothing.
Terry does not want this to happen to anyone else. That's why she reached out to TrustDALE Investigates to share her story.
Well, my advice is first to check out any place you would take your car. There's so many different places you can go now to check for recommendations, so I certainly would do that. I hate to say it, but I'm just not as trusting as I used to be.
We're not going to name this company because it ultimately did the right thing. But we did ask, how could something like this happen? They say they're looking into it.
If you have a consumer problem that you can't solve, go to TrustDALE.com,
fill out a help request form, and send it to us. We could come to your hometown to investigate. Plus, when you're on our webpage, click on the Behind the Scenes tab to see outtakes from all our investigations. And check out and order a copy of my Consumer Protection Handbook. Don't get scammed, get smart. 7 simple steps to becoming a savvy consumer. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you next time. TrustDALE Investigates.